Salutare Linkin Park Romania! Sper că suntem live. Să vedem, o să verific un picuț dacă funcționează. Lăsați-mă să știu dacă funcționează în comentarii. M-ar ajuta foarte mult. Aparent nu suntem încă live. Waiting for the stream to start. Okay. We are live. The stream to start. Okay. Awesome. Salutare Linkin Park România, fani de pretutindeni, la mulți ani, 15 ani astăzi de când am început acest proiect de suflet. Nu vine să cred că am ajuns la această performanță și totuși îmi vine să cred, pentru că știu că am pus foarte mult suflet și multă pasiune în această comunitate și atât eu cât și fondatorul Cold Fire. El a început pe 14 mai 2000. Let's see. Sorry for this. Come on.
Oh, I went to your page and I've got your picture up on my screen.
Okay.
On my computer.
Okay.
I went to your page and I've got
now we're double.
Picture up on my screen. On my computer.
I think you should switch the sound off to that because it's double.
Okay.
Let's see if we are back on the screen.
There. I turned off the computer feed.
Awesome. Okay, seems like we are back. Awesome. Well, I was telling you that I don't know where it stopped. So I was telling you that in 2005 we started this community, myself and a very good friend of mine called Cold Fire. We put so much love into this, and we had a forum and a website where we would share things about the band with other fans. And the biggest dream of everyone was to see Linkin Park live in Romania, preferably. That happened luckily on June 6th, 2012, and I am super grateful for that. Our first guest is someone very special who attended the show, but not just like he's not a fan, he's part of the crew. Actually, his name is Sam Herrington, and I will bring them in shortly. But first of all, I want to tell you the theme of all of this discussion tonight. It is what keeps loyal fans to a band for so long, in our case 15 years. Let me know your answers in the comments and I will read them afterwards. Okay, so now, are you ready for Sam? Because I'm bringing in him. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Diana. How's it going?
Oh, it's fine over here. Quarantine like everyone else.
Yeah, welcome to Texas.
Oh,
welcome to Austin.
Austin, Texas. Nice. What time is it there right now?
It's a little after noon time. So high noon.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm so happy to see you again. I think the last time we
met, to see you.
The last time we met,
I love the theme of the show. I can only say that I've been touring for 25 plus years, and I can guarantee you that of all the bands I've worked with, Linkin Park was definitely the most caring and loving towards their fans. So I think that is reflected in their fan base. And it was always really obvious. One of the things that I did for them during shows was run a video camera. And it was my favorite part of the day because I got to go into the barricade with all the craziest fans.
The front rowers.
And of course, they went all the way to the back of the stadium, but there was always a lot of love up there, always a lot of noise and a lot of familiar faces. It was great to get to know fans by name, and I remain today great friends with a lot of those people. So the fans, were so important to them.
Yeah, we could feel that from day one. As many know, Linkin Park was one of the first bands in the world to engage in a so direct way with their fans. I mean, I remember at the very beginning they were sending demos personally through posts, and they would hang out until the venues would get the venue security would get them out with the fans. They would just hang to chat with them and engage, and starting Linkin Park Underground.
Exactly.
Starting Linkin Park
Drive their security guys crazy.
Oh yes. I remember there were all sorts of rules at MNGs, meet and greets. Everyone was telling no just handshakes or no photos, no nothing. And usually Chester would be the one who would go all the way in and hug everyone and be so close to everyone. And that's one of the reasons why he was so super special.
And he was a special guy, yeah, for sure.
Good-hearted. Yes. So you tell us, how did you start working with Linkin Park?
How I started working? I had taken 5 years off of touring to be a dad after my son was born. And my first tour out of the box, my wife finally got tired of me being around the house and said, get out there and do what you love to do. So, yay. I did some weird little tour with Kiss, and I was somewhere in New York City, and the stage manager, Ethan, one of my really good friends that I used to build the big steel scaffolding stages with, called and said, hey, you working? And I said, I'm in a cab going into the city to do something. I forget what. He said, interested in doing a tour with me? And I'm like, sure, what is it? And he said, Linkin Park.
Wow.
And I immediately said, absolutely. I had bumped into Linkin Park on the Family Values tour a year, sometime before then. They were one of the opening bands. And Mike came to me one day with this amazing architectural drawing of their tour bus and what he wanted to convert it to. And I was just blown away. I'm like, where did you get this drawing? And he's like, I did it. And I said, you drew this? And he goes, yeah, think you can do it? And I'm like, oh, I'll try. So I had some interactions with those guys before, and they have always been most accessible and the most kind artists I've ever encountered, really. So when Ethan offered me the job, I was like, yeah, sure. And we started in New Orleans in rehearsal, and I did the next 7 years, I think, with them. So
you are down for 3 tours, right? World tours.
3 or 4 world tours. I forget what the first one was. It was a big, dopey, cumbersome stage with big lifts in it and stuff.
Probably 1,000 Suns. Probably 1,000 Suns.
Probably so. Yeah.
Because you came to Romania during Living Things. That was during the cycle back then. Okay.
And it was so interesting to see their progression, because 1,000 Suns to me was a really fast-moving show. It was really big and loud, and they just continued to evolve. And by the end, they were doing some really progressive stuff. I thought that I I was just blown away. I was like, well, it's more like soundtracks. I mean, it's so involved, technically and instrumentally involved. And I thought, are we doing a soundtrack tour now? And I remember wondering how this is going to play out on tour. And of course, it was amazing. Always, it was always just so on time and very innovative and very engaging. And of course, Mike and Chester were all of that too. They just really brought the fans in. I always felt so.
Yeah, they sounded
cool people to work with.
Definitely. They sounded so like on the album. I mean, if you wouldn't see that they are live over there and feeling it coming out of their mouths, you'd say that it's the album. That kind of perfection were their shows.
It's amazing, and I've always felt that's always been the true test of good musicians is how do they sound live? I remember I did a Lollapalooza tour with Smashing Pumpkins, and they were awful live. They were terrible live, and I loved them as a band. But man, they would get on stage and just blow it, and I'm just shocked and amazed. There are some bands that can pull it off, and some really can't.
Mm-hmm. So you said that you've been with them at the rehearsals as well, as part of the job, obviously. How were the rehearsals going on? How are they over there?
They can be very intense. Like the production manager, Jim Digby, was always super involved, and he's such a great production manager that he always managed to balance the needs of the crew and the artists even. I always thought that was, just the essence of a really good production manager. So he would work intensely with the band before we would go into production rehearsals, so that when they hit the stage, they knew exactly what they were doing. They had already built a set list, and they knew what they were all about. So it was all just about learning to move around the stage. So it was usually either the stage manager, Ethan, or I that, would point out little intricacies in the stage, watch that, don't go there, blah, blah, blah. And they were always just, like so cool about, yeah, sure, whatever, And of course, then they would start pushing the envelope a little bit. And by the end of the tour, it was all out the window, But they were just such great people to work with because they never really pushed too hard in rehearsals. I've done rehearsals with bands where you're in a venue for 20 hours straight, just over and over and over, and they just never really felt like they wanted to push the crew that hard.
Yeah.
They were always really prepared.
And speaking about the technical stuff, I remember in Romania, the keyboard of Mike Shinoda stopped during New Divide, and it was like a sound like da, and that's how it was for like about a minute. And then you guys took it away, brought the new one, and they decided on the spot to do A Place for My Head, if I remember well. And that was very intense. And in the Linkin Park Underground, I believe there's a video of the crowd singing You Try to Take the Best of Me, and it was like Chester doubled it, and it was like huge. What a moment. So from a technical difficulty, that's how a very beautiful moment was born.
and their backline technicians were always so like the production manager Jim always insisted on double and triple backups for everything. So that's how we were able to pull that system, which is really intense. I mean, there are a lot of things that are connected to his keyboard that need to be there for a reason. And so to replace that in, like a minute or two or however long it took, not easy, not easy at all, but we always seemed to pull it off. And they were always so good about, being able to cover. And then the bands, of course, just closed the whole loop. So, yeah.
And
it was so cool to be a part of.
Yes. And a big shout out to Pooch for the sound. I've never, ever went home from a Linkin Park concert deaf. It was perfect. and I totally felt it and enjoyed it. The sound was so super good. Intense, but not harmful in any way.
Yeah. So Pooch and Tater are the most amazing team.
Sound team, yeah.
Together, what they do is just incredible. We did a show in Mexico City, and Ethan could not be there, so I was stage managing and being Carpenter too. The sound company, we had advanced the sound, and they had one side of the side hang from one company and one from another company, and we're like 2 hours from doors, and
That's right.
the systems aren't speaking to each other. They aren't communicating. Oh my goodness. And I'm like, I got to get barricade out. I got to get chairs. There's a lot of stuff still to do. And how they managed to pull that off, I'll never get. But they did it, and it was amazing.